2020, August 14th, 6:40 a.m. New paragraph. In addition to the functionality and structure of the above, you also have the storylines of the movie, Khan, Spock, Voyage Home, and The Undiscovered Country, which is a secondary story, which is semi kind of sort of like acts, but only kind of period in a paragraph. You have story structures within those movies that tell a poetic license story of the life of Jesus, period, new paragraph. You literally do have the ability to deconstruct them in order to convert them over to the new thing. New paragraph. If V'ger, or in the case as the climax of the film occurs, the Voyager 6 of the film, period, you have so much knowledge condensed into a single form that very simple, no big deal 1950s started to be programmed with debate with some kind of machine language program. It absorbed so much information over so many centuries that it actually achieved consciousness. Well, that's one of the things that is being discussed about, is that there is a consciousness within the movements of humans. And there's a mathematics that can track that. There's a mathematics that can then be converted, that mathematics is ordology, that mathematics can then convert numbers to letters, and then letters to words, paragraphs, chapters, and the like, sentences and the like. Period. New paragraph. The more a person does, okay, as I was saying about the Tower of Babel, the Eridu Ziggurat. My bed. I'm sitting in my bed. I'm sitting in the place where I mostly sleep and I do most of my work. That's what happens when you don't have a body that works that well or has worked that well for most of your life. So this is my 000. 4 zeros. My computers are also in fixed locations. The kitchen is in a fixed location. The car is in the place where it usually is. There's a couple times that it's been parked other places, but mostly it's right there. The addresses of people that we interact with, for the most part, are fixed. And when they haven't been fixed, that's because there's been a pretty heavy-duty situation that has occurred that has prevented them from being fixed. Well, the people in those households have regular schedules, which means they get up about the same time, numbers. They travel the same distances to work or to do various assorted errands, and their errands are almost always the same, or within the course of a year, they're the same. They buy Christmas presents from the same stores that are approximately the same distance away, and they use most of the same routes to get to and from the stores, depending on a variety of situations and conditions. Well, all those numbers, distances, and the travel for 20 miles in this, 20 feet in this direction, and 40 feet in that direction, and 60 feet in that direction, 40 feet in that direction, obviously augmented because of blocks are not 40 feet long. You drive for those distances, and you drive it all the time. You drive that way, say, 800 times over the course of a 365-day period. Well, those numbers become letters, and those letters become dependable, repeatable words. Applies to all humans. Applies to all creatures, great and small. Christ applies to everything that has a molecule. That has an atom. Everything that has an atom. Period. New paragraph. This applies to everything across the board, period. New paragraph. So is V'ger an aspect of the Garden of Eden? Because in the story it went someplace out in the heavens and achieved, and basically it became Adam, or in this case it became Eve. And the poetic license that the character by the name of Decker, who had 1B feelings toward the other character, and the other character was the one that V'ger accepted as its representative, so therefore the female was accepted as V'ger, was taken to V'ger, and was rebuilt into basically a cyborg, for lack of a better description. And it went to the Tree of Knowledge, for lack of a better description, and came back, and the V'ger and Adam then did their thing, and the knowledge from their union expanded in. It wasn't said in the movie, because at that point in the movie it wasn't that important. It wasn't even a mild subject. But as Voyager 6 was downloading its consciousness into into Starfleet's database, they saw that their amount of storage space capacity in their database expanded almost exponentially. They got a pretty good map of a considerably large portion aspect of the known galaxy, V'ger's known galaxy, Star Trek, the Star Trek universe. That galaxy, they knew a couple hundred light years out, but they didn't know the other side of the galaxy or other galaxies, other places. Or wormholes and that kind of stuff. They didn't know that stuff. So when the Voyager 6 came back, it downloaded that, and other things happened. So you have a whole Tree of Life, Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve situation going on, but told from a different perspective than the misogynistic, we hate females, all females are bad, females are horrible, females are corrupt, good people, and make good things bad by bringing in knowledge, education, information, and the like. Well, metaphorically, that's all there. The female had a wealth of database with her that was difficult to calculate on a good day, especially since when it did encounter that culture that built that undefinably large ship with a undefinably large database. When it did that, it expanded the sensor arrays. Instead of being a 1950s, 1960s, early 1960s sensor array, it expanded the array to unknown levels of. So on its journey back, the amount of things that it could record were not quite something that humans at this point in time can contemplate. It's kind of like saying 1.21 gigawatts. Well, in 1985, 1.21 gigawatts was considered way. Now you power New York City and a couple other major cities with that. Now 1.21 gigawatts is considered and hell, I have an 8T hard drive, which is one step bigger than gig. Megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte. I've got a 8T hard drive, and it's commercially available and not exactly that expensive either. So and my hard drive's half full, and I know other people who have several of those drives, and they're all full for whatever reason possible. Period. New paragraph. In the next 10 years, it's difficult to calculate how much more knowledge humans. In the next 10 years, it's difficult to calculate how much more knowledge humans will advance into, period, unless we go into a 1,000-year long dark age, which more than a few hundreds of millions of human species would very, very much like to go into another dark age, to have 1,000 years where they just concentrate on their theocracy and don't worry about the people who are smart and can contemplate and to do these kind of things, period. They'd like to create a dark age to get back down to the basics of no, I just want to do my work and worship God, and that's it. Well, some other things, but that's the nasty part of it, period. New paragraph. So you have the movie, which is basically a retelling, a reorganizational telling of the story of Adam and Eve in the garden. The second movie